Hey, so I'm Sania, and today's day 2 of the public speaking challenge. And today, what I want to talk about is overcoming fears. I remember the video that I made yesterday. I was talking about my fear of driving and how I'm gradually overcoming it. And I'm gonna also talk about, so the other idea was, it wasn't really a fear, but it's overcoming a dislike for something. And what I'm gonna use for what I'm gonna use as example is our skin, overcoming a dislike for your skin or your hair, whatever it is that you don't like. But I'm gonna go with the driving first. So as I mentioned, I got my permit for like 2 years, and I had this fear of driving. I don't know where it came from. It's just there. And what I realized a long time ago that would help me to overcome this fear is if I drive. Because it's like, I don't, how do I say this? The only way that you can overcome a fear is if you face that fear, you know? So what I decided to do was I needed to drive to overcome this fear of driving. And to be honest, for the longest time, I was not doing it. I did my driving test 2 times and I failed it. Did I fast before I went and did these driving tests, and I still failed. So you know that the issue was me, because God did his part. God was like, listen, you're not ready for this road because you're still afraid. Because even though I was doing these driving tests, I was still afraid, so it was like, okay, maybe I did it and I passed it, but I would still be afraid to drive on the road, so I realized that I had to start exposing myself, going out there and driving. And what I did, I remember the first night, the first thing that I did was I went in the car. It was like 3 o'clock in the night, right? And I shouldn't be doing this, but whatever. It was 3 o'clock, and what I did was I went in the car, and the first thing I did was I just put put the key, and I started the car. And when I did it, I um what's it called? I turned the wiper on, I turned the lights on, and that's all I did for the first night. And I felt like, okay, that's a big deal. Honestly, that's not a big deal, but in my mind it was like, okay, that's a big deal. That's something different because I've never done that before. The other night, what I did was I went and I turned the car on, did the same thing, the light, the wiper, and everything, because I wanted to know where these things were. And what I did was I drove for like 5 seconds, like around my parking spot, and I came back in and I was like, yes, I did it. I drove in the car by myself, and I felt so good about the fact that I did that because I've never done that before. And I remember how freeing it felt. Like, I was still afraid to drive on the road, but it felt good to know that, okay, I've done it by myself with no one in the car. And I remember the other morning, another morning, these are different times, these are probably weeks apart, but another morning, what I did was, this was in the daytime though, so people were probably seeing me. Nobody was watching me, but in my mind, people were seeing me, so I was nervous. So what I did was, I drove around the block. It was like probably, it wasn't even a 5 minute drive, but it was something, and I was scared. Basically, when I went around the wheel and I started to drive, that 5 seconds for that 5 minutes, it was it was so different to me because I've never done this distance before, and it felt so good in the moment. And I said, yes, I did it. And I told my mom that I went driving, and she was like, you shouldn't do that because I don't have my license. And so she was like, you shouldn't do that. And even after that, I was scared to do it again because I know that I don't have my stuff, so it's kind of wrong to do it. But things happen, and my mom was in the hospital, and I was the only one at home, and my brother, he needed to go to school. So his school is like 10 minutes or 15 minutes away, and I was the only one that was gonna have to take him. And the thing is, I went to sleep that night at about 4 o'clock, and I woke up like 7 o'clock, and my mother was like, you have to take Lamar to school. And because I was so scared to do it, I was saying, I'm gonna call the Uber. I'm gonna call the Uber and let the Uber send him. And she was like, how much is it? I was like, I don't know, maybe $20, but I'll pay for it because I didn't want to drive him. And then after I was sitting there for a moment, I was like, Sonia, how are you gonna overcome this fear if you keep hiding from it? And in that moment, I said to myself, I'm gonna drive my brother to school. Was I scared? Yes, I was. And when I went in the car, he was coming to the front, and I was like, go in the back, just in case something were to happen. I don't want you in the front. And I drove him to school. And while he was in the car with me, I was so nervous. I realized that the nervousness, it comes on mostly when I'm with someone in the car. Because when I'm in the car by myself, I feel nervous at first, but after a while it goes away. And when I drove my brother to school, I was nervous not because I think I couldn't do it, but I was nervous just because he was in the car. I was like, I don't want to mess up because he's here. I don't want anything to happen to him. And you know what's funny? When I was driving myself back, it felt so good. It's almost, I didn't even realize that, listen, I was afraid to drive because these tiny steps that I've taken, they have led to this moment of me doing it. I'm not entirely over this fear of the road, but if I continuously put myself out there, eventually it will go. Because a few days ago, I actually went driving for a minute and I went to do some practice parking and stuff. I just did that because I was bored. And that's good. Because before I felt a bit of, like, probably on a scale of 1 to 10, like probably 2%. 2 was the fear that I had. And after, I forgot about it completely, you know. So it just showed that how exposing yourself to this fear can help you overcome it. You know, even though you're afraid and it seems hard, exposing yourself to it will help you to overcome it. And what I want to talk about now is hair and or skin, because I've noticed that many people have this had have this insecurity for their hair or their skin. I'm going to talk about hair first because we know how black women especially, we have been policed for the hair on our heads. We're told, oh, you have to have a perm, you have to have straight hair or else you're not beautiful or whatever. I just want to say this: even though we have been through so much conditioning to hate the hair that grows out of our scalp, we have to we have to deliberately expose ourselves to it for us to overcome that hatred that we have. It's the same thing with the skin color. People say, oh, black and ugly and those things. Those are not true, but you have to expose yourself to it for you to realize and see that, listen, it's not what they said it is. It's not scary, it's not ugly, it's not bad. You have to expose yourself. You have to be you have to be true with yourself. Say, listen, I have these feelings, I feel insecure about this, but because I don't want to feel like this, I'm going to expose myself to it. It's the same thing with the driving. I have these feelings, I am scared of driving, but I'm gonna do it because I want to get over it. So you have to do the same thing. I don't like my hair, I don't like my skin color. Because I don't like it, I'm gonna do something about it. I'm gonna change the way that I feel. I'm gonna expose myself to these things so that I can change the way that I feel. So that's just something that I came up with last night, and I decided that I wanted it to be what I talk about on day 2. So this is the end of the video. I hope you have a great time.